a world where everyone is sharing how to get rich quickly, I wanted to share how I made my money sustainably, because if you get it overnight, I truly believe you can lose it just as fast. Hello, my name is Sim. I'm an angel and venture investor, but I did not start out my career this way. I definitely did not only make my money this way. And so I wanted to share with you the 9 income streams that I have right now at age 28. And also to put a bit of a spin on it, I'm going to share actual numbers for most of them. I'm going to get you to see the real behind the scenes, because I grew up absolutely loving and watching other people that would share their income streams, share their numbers. I was so inspired by people like Graham Stephan and Ali Abdaal, and it made me realize what was possible. But I haven't seen a lot of female creators or female business owners share their real numbers. And I thought, it is scary. It's incredibly and deeply uncomfortable. But what helped me should be something that I should be able to continue to offer. And so not only will I share my 9 streams of income, I will also be sharing my rating of them, which ones I think are worth doing and which ones are definitely not worth your time. And I will be ranking them from my least favorite to my favorite. So I hope you enjoy this episode and let me know what you think. Income source number 1 is affiliate marketing. And this is absolutely my least favorite type of way of making money, of having an income. And so I would probably give this like a 1 out of 10. And not to like surprise you, and please, sit down when I say this, but last year in 2024, I made a total of $8. $8 with affiliate marketing. And this year so far, I have made $13. So I feel like it's not really my thing. I don't love affiliate marketing for 2 reasons. The first is more of a personal thing, not to shame or discredit people that use it and have it, because for some people, it works really well for them. Affiliate marketing basically means if you really like a product or service, you say, hey followers or hey friends, you should buy this. And if you buy it, I get a little percentage of that sale because I have introduced it to you, which is fair enough. And it costs nothing to the person that's buying it. And as the affiliate, you make a bit of income. But my personal gripe with it is I just don't love consumption or like overconsumption. I grew up as a real minimalist, and while I'm trying to get better and spending money on things that bring me joy and yada yada, I don't enjoy making money off sending people to go like buy a t-shirt or buy some technology or buy a software. Like, I also don't love it as a business model because you need 2 types of customers to play ball. You need your audience that trust you and that will click on the link and buy from you. And you also need a seller that doesn't change their price and doesn't remove their products or services. It kind of feels like you're playing a really risky game where either side could drop. You could lose your audience. The thing that you are affiliate marketing selling to could completely change, or they might stop taking affiliate links. Like, there's just so many things that could go wrong. And so for me, an income needs to be something that is consistent, is stable, and something I can rely on. And so that's why it doesn't sit very highly on my list at all. And I'm just not very good at it. Like, when I would make content online and someone would be like, oh, Sim, like, I love your earrings. Where are they from? Or I love your t-shirt. Where are they from? I get like kind of sad because I'm like, no, don't buy things. Like, I'm talking to you about investing. Like, buy some shares, buy some ETFs, buy an investment property, but please, like, I'll tell you where the earrings are from, but you don't need them. The second source of income stream that I have is YouTube ads. And again, this is going from my least favorite to my most favorite. So this is my second least favorite. And I'd give this maybe like a 3 or 4 out of 10. Now, again, I'll share the numbers here. YouTube brings me about $100 a month to $400 a month on a good month. And so at best this year, our first year of YouTube, I'm going to make $4,800 off this. And I'm a type B person. When I lost the mail that gives you the code to upload to YouTube for YouTube to like confirm the YouTube AdSense to confirm that like you're really this person, you really live in this country. And so for 2 months, I did not make any money because the ads were not running because I lost it. And then I had to get another one sent. And so we were not monetized as a podcast. And it was because there was just so many things to do and I never quite got around to it. But I do think YouTube has a possibility of becoming a much higher revenue source or source of income. I just don't see it as being incredibly reliable because, like, what happens if I stop posting, or what happens if life happens and I can't continue to show up every single week. It requires the channel to grow. It requires new content. And yes, while there is residual YouTube income where I see people, like I've seen some creators that I know personally and their YouTube channels bring them like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month. That is an incredible amount of money. But I often correlate being a YouTuber with like being an athlete, where you probably have a good solid like 5-10 years, if that, and then you really need to find other ways to have, an income source, because it's not going to be around as a reliable income source forever. But that's at least my opinion on it. Now, the third income source that I have, I would rate this a 5 out of 10, and that is the income that I get from my 2 rental properties. Again, I'm going to share the numbers. It is a little scary, but I think sharing numbers provides a level of transparency, because if I think about my younger self, and if someone was like, Sim, like I have 2 rental properties, I'd be like, okay, that's awesome. Like, how much does that give you? Does that give you $1,000 a month? Does that give you $10,000 a month? Does that, like, what are the numbers? What would it even look like? I'd have no idea where to begin. And so in my case, my 2 rentals together bring me $4,680 a month. And when that mortgage is completely paid off on both properties, the net rent that I get, or the net profit I get, will be a lot higher. But right now, I do not take home $4,680 as cash because I have to still pay the mortgage. I have a property rental company that manages it, so that if a tenant has like an issue or needs a hand with something, like there's always someone available, and it's not just reliant on me being there because, what if I am away? What if I am busy? I don't want someone to be like, oh my God, my landlord still has not gotten back to me. So I got that sorted as soon as I bought the properties. And then also there are some other bills, like insurance is around $3,000, a year per property. Property rates are about $3,000 per year. So I'm definitely left with less than $4,000. And so I gave it a 5 out of 10 because I feel quite neutral about the rental income. Like, I don't really see my journey of wealth creation as being like owning 20 homes or owning 20 rentals. I can see owning a few rentals. I can see it as a way to like sustain my wealth and slowly grow over time. But I don't really want to rely on it being as like my main source of income. Especially if you live in a country like Australia or New Zealand, it is very tempting to have your entire wealth in property, because historically, up till now, like property prices in New Zealand and Australia in the largest cities, so think Sydney, think Auckland, Melbourne, they've been going up 3, 4, 5, 6% year on year over the last 10 to 15 years. And in some places even longer. Now, if you compare that to like Calgary, Canada, I don't know why I chose you, but like, a small town in Calgary, the homes there might only go up to 3% per year. And so if you buy a house for $300,000, even after 10 years, the value of it hasn't changed too much. But in Australia and New Zealand, the value of a house tends to outpace a lot of other investment vehicles. I don't know if that's going to continue to happen. I think it probably will, but I don't necessarily want to be a part of that. And so that's where my feelings on property stand. I'd like to have a couple of properties as part of my overall portfolio and using rental income as part of my retirement plan. But it's just personal preference. And I really don't think that there's a right or wrong. It just kind of comes down to what you're comfortable with. Now, the fourth income stream I have are income streams from other businesses that I have outside of Friends That Invest. And I would give this like a 5.5 out of 10. This income stream from other businesses, these can range from like sometimes $0 a year to about $100,000 a year. It really is dependent. And, more recently, these haven't been a huge focus for me. And so I haven't been able to like pull a lot of money out from them. And I think it comes down to just understanding what kind of person you are. I wish I wasn't like this. I wish I was like one of those people that could wake up in the morning and just be like, you know what? I run all these different companies and I do them so well. And like, Matthew, please come here. Matthew is Kris Jenner's personal assistant. So that's kind of where that name just came from. Like, Matthew, can you please come here and just like give me a rundown of all the companies I own and what's doing well and what do I need to do and what fires I need to put out. But that's just not how I am right now. Very incredible to have a brain like that in the future. But I find that I'm much better focused on like having one company and running it really well. And now that I've started to understand like systems and KPIs and doing more of that boring business stuff better, I think that will allow the other businesses to flourish a bit more and grow a bit more. And so maybe that will be a much more higher income stream in terms of enjoyment. But it's been interesting to like watch myself trying to navigate it as if I'm like watching from the outside and I'm like, oh, I don't like where this movie is going. My fifth income stream comes from my consulting, advisory work that I do, being on boards, that sort of thing. And the way that this income stream works is I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. I either charge like an hourly rate for this or I give a package rate. And I remember thinking when I was young, I didn't even realize this was a thing. Like when I was younger, I'd be like to people like, oh, like what do your parents do? And they'd be like, oh, they do a bit of consulting. And I was like, what does that mean? And I remember I had a friend that got a job at Ernst & Young and we could not rattle our heads around understanding what she did for work. And she was like, like we take projects that kind of come together and we ideate and we iterate and we figure things out. We were like, please just tell us what you do. But I kind of understand it now, and my view on it is it's just kind of like mentoring, except you advise, and it really depends on like who needs it. Like sometimes it's individuals, sometimes it's companies, sometimes it's like early stage startups. And so I enjoy it because essentially, even though I am giving my time for money, which I don't usually recommend, it's a little bit of time for quite a larger amount of money. And so I really feel like it is quite an impactful way of helping. And I can distill like, 10 years of community building or, 5 years of having a financial education business or all these other things. I can distill what I've learned and share it with people. And rather than them making the same mistakes I've made, they can learn the right ways of doing things and they can learn a lot faster. And in terms of the board roles, like this is a new space for me. Like governance wasn't even a word I understood for many years. I just understood it in terms of like ESG, like environmental social governance. And my understanding of it only really developed in the last couple of years, where you essentially get to make more high level visionary decisions as part of a board of a company, or in my case, a board of a charity. I'm part of the board of a hospital. And so I've had to put a little bit of a pause on this more recently. The board position is new, so I'm excited for that. And I love it. I love this kind of work because it means like working with people and learning how they do things. And I feel like a sponge and I'm absorbing things again and I'm learning new things. And that's where I'm more happy. Like compared to affiliate marketing, where you're not really learning a lot. You're just kind of like, hey, buy this. Okay, thank you. But this is more like, hey, let me actually utilize my brain and my skills and I can actually see impact. And that's just more of a funner way of making money for me. Now, my next source of income is from my 9-to-5 job that I get from Friends That Invest. It's a salary. And even though I own Friends That Invest and I have full operational and creative control, Friends That Invest is a online education company. So we do podcasts, we do newsletters, we make money from the ads on the podcast and the newsletter. We had like 10 million podcast downloads. We hit that last year, over 100,000 newsletter subscribers. We sometimes, not often, do like social media ads. As you can tell, we don't do ads on the YouTube channel yet. That's kind of been more intentional. But we also do like webinars and do paid webinars, and we have our paid investing masterclass and we do workshops. And so all of that income comes into the company. And then there are a few people in the company that helps. We have this incredible person that helps with like partnerships and securing these partnerships for ads. We have someone that helps like edit the podcast because I am so bad at it. And we used to get so much feedback on how much the podcast editing was horrific. And so I had to hire an incredible person. We've worked with them for almost 5 years now. And so all these people kind of like help in the business, and then we pay taxes on the business. And then I take a salary from the business. And so this is my, I guess, next income stream. And I would equate this to like having a 9-to-5 job in the way that it now is a consistent like every single week I get paid the same amount. When I first started Friends That Invest, when it was under a different name, we had 18 months where I didn't take a salary. It was just about like anything we made, we'd put it back into the business. Anything we made, we'd put it back into the business. And then for 2 years after that, it was very similar. I took $50,000 a year, which was kind of like the minimum amount I needed to live off. And then the year after that, I increased my salary by a bit more of a jump to $120,000 a year. And then slowly it's kind of been increasing over time. And I realized that I absolutely love this work. I find it so enjoyable. Like I love teaching. And so for me, it doesn't feel like work. It's incredibly fun. And I get a lot of satisfaction out of it. I feel like even if I did like completely retire, I would probably still be doing this as like a retirement job. But in saying that, I don't want to rely on this income forever because it is still a business and there's always a chance that things go sideways in business. There's always a chance that, advertisers don't want to work with us anymore. Anything can really happen. And so while it exists, I don't try to live lavishly and assume that this money will always be there because, again, kind of like that whole idea of a college athlete or athlete in general, you just don't know what the future could hold. You could have an injury, so to speak, and that's that, income stream gone. Now, the seventh income stream that I have is, again, these are getting like more and more fun, more closer to my favorites. And so that's speaking. I love speaking. And again, I am not scared to share numbers. So I charge between $4,000 to $10,000 per speaking gig, which is huge. Like if I did a keynote once a month, every single month, I don't, that'd be like $120,000 a year. That's like, my salary just from speaking. And I used to do a lot of this for free over the years. I thought it was, when I started, like, who was I to be charging? Do you know what I mean? Like I was just new. I don't even know if I was a very good speaker. I could probably actually say with confidence that I wasn't. And over time, I got better at it. And over time, I figured it out. And again, it's another income stream that is really reliant on myself having to be there and charging for the fact that I'm like, if I fly overseas, it's like the day before, the day after is, in the flying, the whole day I'm there. And so that's like 3 full days of me being away from my friends and family. And if I had like a child, that's a lot of time to, be away. And so you really have to value your time and charge accordingly. And so in saying that, it's a good gig and I love it because I love speaking. I think it's so fun. I love meeting people. I love going to spaces like I've spoken in Toronto and LA and New York and London and Sydney and New Zealand and Singapore, India. There's so many countries and cities that I've spoken in and I've really enjoyed it. But I would really rate this like a 7, 8 out of 10. And the 2 points that are missing are because it isn't scalable. To speak, I have to show up. I have to be there. Now, the 8th source of income that I absolutely love, and I guess my second to last source of income, my second favorite source of income are my book royalties. I can't, because of, my publisher, I can't disclose how much money I have made from book royalties. I didn't have a very large advance whatsoever, but I negotiated on my royalty percentage and basically betted on myself and was like, okay, I think I will sell more books than maybe they're expecting. And I sold more than 100,000 books and we sell many every single year and I get a percentage of every sale. And I love this form of income so much because it's something that will continue on hopefully forever. People will always want to learn how to invest. They'll always want to buy the book and the book has such good reviews that it's just probably one of the things I am the most proud of. And yes, it was a lot of work at the start. It was a lot of work writing the book. It was a lot of work, traveling around the world and doing a global book tour. That was very cool, but very fun and self-funded. I learned a lot of things in that process, but I don't have to do a lot of extra work now. Like it's the publisher and the bookshops that sell the book. And we don't really do a lot of promotion of it like online or in Friends That Invest. So it really is like the gift that keeps on giving. And it just is genuinely one of the things I am the most proud about. I don't have any tattoos, but if I ever got a tattoo, it would probably be like the cover of the book or something like that. Would it? I don't know, maybe that or my dog. I think those are like the only two things I would ever like get tattooed on me. I don't think anything else I can commit to. Now, the ninth and final source of income that I have is the dividends that I get and also selling my shares. This is one of the largest sources of income I have and is set to replace my salary. And once it does, that will be like the definition of being able to retire, being able to no longer have to work because my dividends from the shares that I have in the share market and selling of my shares and drawing down on them would completely replace my spending. And I like spending money on a few things. Like I love jewelry. I love jewelry. I love travel. I love nice hotels. But besides that, like I don't have like a lot of fancy clothes, and my house and my furniture and things have probably more on the average to modest side. So that makes life a little bit easier to retire when you don't have a very high spending rate. And I always thought that once I would get there, I would start working, but I genuinely realized that I just love what I do. And I will probably keep making investing content forever. I'll probably keep doing this because, you know, the mission isn't done. And that was the whole point I set out to do this. And the way that the mechanics of this income stream works is shares give me dividends. And so those shares that I own in the share market, I get dividends from them. Dividends can be thought of like rent that you get from owning a house, except instead of owning property, you own shares of, publicly traded companies. And so that is just cash that comes into my share account that I then put into my bank account, and I can live off them. Right now, I don't tend to do that. I tend to just put them back into the share market because I don't need that yet. But when retirement comes, I can actually take that and then use that to buy, lunch, go on a trip, do nice things. And also drawing down shares. The FIRE method is that you can draw down 4% of your share portfolio every single year. So if you have $2.5 million invested in the share market, that's $100,000 that you can draw down every single year. And the assumption that shares go up by 7% per year, hopefully, and then you draw down 3 to 4%. And so those are really my 9 sources of income. I have other sources of wealth building, like my venture capital investments or my angel investments, but those aren't things that give me cash. Those are things that I would hope to give me a payday, in the future, like in 5 years or 10 years time, but in no way, shape or form are those things that I can go out and buy a cup of coffee with. And if I can't buy a matcha with something, if I cannot pay for lunch with something, then that's not really a source of income, is it? So essentially, those are my 9 sources of income. I didn't want to share this to brag, or I didn't want to share it to be like, look at me, look what I've done, but more just like a way for you to understand that there's lots of different ways to have an income. And it's no longer the way that we grew up. Like the way I grew up was like, get a job, become an optometrist, have a 9-to-5 job. That was your income and that's all you needed. And I feel like that worked for our parents' generation, but we just live in a time where that just does not work for us anymore if we want to be able to afford a home, if we want to be able to afford nicer things. And so I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And I would love, love, love if you enjoyed this to please share it with someone that you think this would benefit. Because at the end of the day, the more people that see this podcast or listen to this podcast, the more financially literate the world becomes. And literally, what more could you ask for? So with that, I'll see you next week.